Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a story that really makes you think. Can one great speech, one powerful moment of faith, actually make up for a lifetime of sin? We're going to get into the perplexing story of King Abijah of Judah. He's a man whose legacy is just a massive contradiction. You have this incredible public declaration of faith on one hand, and then a private life that, well, told a completely different story.
Okay, so here's the setup. Right after Abijah becomes king, boom, he finds himself at war with his rival, King Jeroboam of Israel. The stage is set for this huge confrontation between the two kingdoms.
And the odds were just impossibly stacked against him. He's facing this massive army from Israel, and his own forces are outnumbered 2-1. I mean, a straight-up conventional battle would have been absolute suicide. But Abijah's strategy was anything but typical. Instead of drawing his sword, he does something completely unexpected. He climbs up Mount Zemaraim, looks out at this massive enemy army arrayed before him, and he starts to preach. He kicks things off by reminding them of a history they all shared, God's unbreakable promise to King David. And look, this wasn't just some random history lesson. He was being super strategic, grounding his own right to be king in this divine covenant, a sacred binding promise from God to David's family line.
Then he goes on the attack, not with swords, but with words. He calls them out for their turn to idolatry, pointing right at those golden calves their king had made. And you've got to understand, these weren't just statues. They represented a fundamental rejection of their shared history with God.
And right there, Abijah draws a hard line in the sand. He declares Judah's faithfulness to the one true God, and at the same time, he's directly accusing the army of Israel of abandoning that very same God. His whole speech builds up to this final, stark warning. The message is crystal clear. This isn't just a battle between two kingdoms. He's telling them, if you fight against us, you are literally fighting against God himself. But here's the thing. While Abijah is up there preaching this incredible sermon of faith, his opponent, King Jeroboam, isn't just standing there listening. Oh no, he's plotting a military move. See, Jeroboam had sent his troops to ambush Judah from behind. They were completely surrounded, totally trapped. But in that moment of absolute crisis, facing attack from the front and the rear, they don't panic. They cry out to God for help. And in that exact moment of faith, as the priest's trumpet sounded and the soldiers' battle cry went up, the tide of the battle just miraculously turned. The scriptures say that God himself struck down the army of Israel. The result was staggering. The army of Israel suffered these absolutely devastating losses. We're talking 500,000 of its finest troops killed in a single day, a catastrophic and totally decisive defeat. So Abijah pursues the fleeing army and captures several key towns. And I want you to take special note of that first one, Bethel. It was one of the main centers of Israel's golden calf cult, the very idolatry he had just been preaching against. So you've got this incredible victory, won through a powerful declaration of faith. This should have been the defining moment of a great and faithful king, but it wasn't. Instead, the final judgment on his life, the one recorded in the Book of Kings, is absolutely damning. Despite that sermon, despite that miraculous victory, the text says he was not faithful to God. So what happened? What was the failure that earned him this verdict? Well, it came down to a critical inaction. After conquering Bethel, the very home of the idol he had so passionately condemned, he just allowed it to remain. His failure to act directly contradicted the powerful words of his own sermon. And that idol he allowed to remain, it would go on to be a source of sin for generations. And this brings us right back to the central paradox of King Abijah's life, that powerful, nagging tension between his words and his actions. This is really the heart of the conflict, isn't it? On one side, you see his words, a flawless, powerful declaration of faith. But on the other, his actions tell a story of a life that just failed to live up to that declaration. So why does this all matter? It suggests that a single moment of victory, or even one powerful, eloquent speech, it just doesn't tell the whole story. True faith, it seems, is measured not in these big moments of high drama, but in the consistent day-in, day-out pattern of our lives. And King Abijah's story leaves us with a provocative question for our own lives, one that cuts right to the heart of integrity. When all is said and done, when your story is told, which will speak louder, your speech or your life?